Yo, what's up, you guys? Been on fire here, back with another video, and today we're going to be bringing you guys another offensive scheme. Today we have the gun Trey flex, so we're going to bring to you some nice balanced offense, good passing, good running, that type of stuff. So this is one of the best formations. Of course, you guys have probably seen the run a lot more in this game recently. I see a lot more of the ground game. It seems to be, the easier route for bots. Just running the football with Derrick Henry. And so this is going to be a good formation to kind of both run the ball and pass the ball. You can actually become high-powered in both of them, which is definitely nice. Now, we're in the Chargers playbook. I've been loving this Chargers playbook recently, and the biggest reason why, you just have a ton of good stuff. Tight bunch. You have this nice Trey, Y-off trio. You have a nice little split-off set, which we actually did a video on as well, so you can check that out. But yeah, we went over a money play and tight offset yesterday, and now we got Trey flex. So we're starting to put together a lot of videos in this formation to where you can actually build a pretty good complete scheme of the entire playbook. But going into our audibles, we have this inside post out, which you can actually swap with levels out if you prefer that. I like this play better. We got inside zone, levels, Y corner, and dagger. Those are the main plays we're going to go over. You also have some things like verticals, read option. Of course, I mentioned levels out is pretty much the same thing. You have some RPOs. The reason that I'm not the biggest fan of some of these RPOs is because the wide receivers are a little bit further inside, so it's a complete tell of what you're actually running before you do it. Then, of course, just some basic things like SE corner, PA crossers, some of that normal stuff. But without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Now, I just decided to keep things simple and start out with the inside zone. Now, taking a look at the inside zone, of course, you can run read option if you want. Now, you probably would want a mobile quarterback, I would say, for read option. A guy like Matt Ryan, you're probably better off just running, a standard inside zone because, of course, he has no threat. But, yeah, man, the inside zone is pretty solid. You're going to get some pretty good blocks. Now, because of the defense I chose, we're going to get some, specifically better blocks than we typically and even normally would. But the inside zone is really good, man. It's one of the best in the game. One of the best inside zones in the game. One of the best shotgun runs in general in the game. It's just really difficult to stop. Now, we're going to incorporate some things like motion into this just to give your opponent another thing to think about. When you incorporate some things like motion, what it does to your opponent is it just, even if it's for a split second, it'll create that thought that he's passing. Of course, if you're using that motion a lot in the passing game, he might just think it's a pass and kind of discount the fact that you're going to potentially run the football. Now, as far as some things you can do when running the football, if you're in a run-heavy offense or even a balanced offense like this, you can throw some fake hot routes out there. Now, because we're in practice mode, these hot routes won't go off, but in actual games, you guys notice that Matt Ryan, when you put this wide receiver, either any of these three to the trip side on, let's say, any route, an out route, Matt Ryan's going to point to the left. If you put the running back on a route, he's going to tap his hip or whatever. You could have, these quarterbacks can have different animations if they were separately put into the game, like a Rodgers, someone, but Cam Newton, he points. So, but you put your tight end over here, Kyle Pitts, in a slant. Matt Ryan's going to point to the right. So just doing some of those hot routes, your opponent knows that you might be passing, but you can actually do those fake hot routes. Like we could be on a run, we could hot route. Matt Ryan will still go through the animation. If you, for example, put your wide receiver on that route, he still will point to the left, even though, of course, he's not running in that route, he is blocking. So if your opponent sees you do that, you take 10 seconds hot routing, then you motion a receiver. Is he really going to expect the run? Probably not. And that's what some of those really good runners do. So there is an art to running the ball. It's not just going to the line, snapping A. There's a lot of things that you can do that the advanced runners do that really make them not just a bum that has Derrick Henry. It makes them creating really good blocking, running lanes, whether it's that or, faking their opponents out. But yeah, I really like this formation a lot because of this wide receiver in the slot. He does a lot for you. You see when you motion over, he can actually pick up the slot corner, which is something that's really cool. And now if we do not motion over that wide receiver, take a look again at Tajay Sharp here. He actually is going to go to that second level and block the safety, which actually opens up pretty much us to take this to the crib. So I love the way that he does. Now, if it's something like even 3-3-5 wide, and I know this is an interesting example because there is 6 guys on the line of scrimmage. I do believe Kyle Pitts ends up picking up Hassan Reddick here, which he does, which, again, eliminates the extra guy. But if Kyle Pitts weren't there, or if for whatever reason you were able to pinch, then that slot wide receiver can even pick up guys like right here. I'm not sure if we ID him. Sometimes I've seen him pick up the guy that was in Brian Burns' spot. So definitely some interesting things with the blocking. You know, definitely some advanced things you guys can go with. It doesn't always have to be simple. It's okay to be a little bit sweaty in the run game. It's okay to, you know, do these things. Even though they might seem annoying, it might seem like a pain to motion this guy out, make tons of hot routes. Trust me, it ends up adding up, and it'll help you in the long run. Now, moving into some of the passing game, we'll start out with this inside post out. Now, the main reason this play, we're going to build around Tajay Sharp's route, which is going to be a deep over route. It's going to be a really deep route. It's deeper than the one in verticals. So we can just go with a couple of different things. Now, something I might do is go with like a little curl flat over here, where maybe we put Y on a curl. We actually motion X over, put him on a drag. Then we have Patterson on a little out route. Or you might just want to block Patterson. Main reason being, no other reason being, other than the route is running really deep and you're going to need a lot of time to pass the ball. So you can set up little blocking adjustments. You get the cut block. No one blocks Brian Burns. Looked like the Falcons last night in that Patriots-Falcons game. If you know, you know. But, yeah, man, you can definitely block the running back. Clearly it made no difference there. I don't know what that was. But, again, we can throw Y on a little curl. You can put X on a drag. You can also just run the curl flat with Y on a flat, X on a curl, and use no motion. But, again, I feel like the more motion you use, the better. You can like step up in the pocket here, and then you see B just gets wide open. Again, this is just stock coverage, but really you're going to need a 30-yard curl flat, something like that, to really have a chance at stopping this. So really interesting there. Take a look at the player. He starts his route about the 52-yard line, wherever we are, and he's going to run about 30 yards. So it's similar to verticals, actually, in the way that he runs. It looks a little bit deeper on the player, but even I was a little bit confused by that, but he does end up going to the same spot, actually. And this is going to be good against man coverage. Tajay Sharp does a nice job against man coverage as well. And you don't necessarily need a clear out for him to get open. The clear out does a nice job of opening up. It does a nice job of opening up the outside third, so the outside third doesn't jump it, but I don't think you need it. For example, if we go with like a little out route combo, something like this, I don't know what you would expect. Curl, flat, motion gauge over, something like this. I believe Tajay Sharp still gets a little bit open here, so we're going to roll out. Maybe not. I think the verticals one is a little bit better because it cuts across more, so maybe you probably do need that clear out, but you can kind of throw him as a post. You saw he was open a little bit earlier if we were to just release that football, so you're more than welcome to do that. So again, here's a look at the second setup. You can go with like a little zig if you want as well, but we can throw B there. We got hit, but you saw he was open in that particular spot. All right, man, hopping into our next play, we're going to go into the levels wide corner, which is similar to levels sail, the play that you always see out of a slot or trips tight end offset. But this play is, again, just one of the better. You can actually kind of run it stock. What I would do is probably at least throw one of these receivers on a little streak. Either Gage, or you could actually put Gage on this deeper dig route and throw Tajay Sharp in his streak, but doesn't really matter. But you can I like one guy in the clear out. I don't want three guys running in routes. This will be better spacing. You can throw the backside dig like this. You can, of course, you have a nice little high-low read. The table route's one of the best routes in the game. In the beginning of the year, this was like literally an unguardable route with Patterson. It did kind of get patched, but it's still very solid. You know, definitely a throwable route, and really with nobody really using double Mabel style defense, this can be open pretty much all game just to throw. And again, most people give you those 5-yard routes, so you just have to be patient in the passing game, especially when you're running this kind of a scheme where you're running the ball and you're passing the ball. Just be a little bit patient, take your 5-yard routes, and if he's going to give it to you, don't force the ball down the field, because that probably means he's trying to take away something deep down the field. So maybe he's taking away Kyle Pitts, which, not trying to throw that, but you definitely might be able to fit that in with Gunslinger. With a standard Matt Ryan, it's a little bit of a difficult throw to make, as you would expect, but that's definitely something you can do. Something else I've done in the past is put, Zacchaeus on a little drag. I might streak Russell Gage, actually motion him over and open up this spot a little bit more. Now, Pitts runs a very deep corner route, and you see how he actually runs it quicker than Zacchaeus, so the motion snap might not be the best idea, which you can actually do instead. And if you wanted to, you can also motion Zacchaeus over, which I believe I motioned Russell Gage over, not Zacchaeus on that previous play. But if you want to, I think this would be a better idea. But even in this situation, there's a chance that Pitts runs his route so fast that he almost runs into him, which kind of happened there. We were able to fit it in with Gunslinger. That would, of course, be an easier throw than it even was. Now, the interesting thing with levels wide corner is you really want to just build around these 2 routes. You can really audible the rest of these 3 routes and do whatever you want with them. So in the past, I've maybe, you could go with a complete hitch combo, which is something I like to do. Something like this on the left side, create a complete spacing check. You have a curl, you have a little hitch route, you have a smoke screen. This is just going to create really good spacing. One of those 3 guys is always going to be wide open against any kind of zone coverage. If it's man coverage, of course, that's a different story. But against really any zone coverage, one of those 3 will be open on against cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, any coverage in the game. This is a concept that gets used out of U trips. I've shown this kind of a player out of U trips before. I believe you can kind of switch these guys if I'm not mistaken. Maybe you go hitch and curl in this spot, and this would open up Russell Gage in that slot a little bit more. But, it might be a little bit tight, but with Gunslinger, again, these throws are a little bit easier to make. But this is just an overall really good concept to use out of any trip set. If you can, you can't really do this thing out of a bunch, but of course you can throw that, not really open. In this cover 3, the hitch is usually the guy that's open. The hook curl is actually taken away. Of course, the curl, it's called a hook curl, so you would expect that. But one last setup you could do is maybe something like this, where Y is on a flat or a smoke screen. You put X on a slant. You can kind of motion them over. Something like this. Now, I'm not a fan of having, the B wide receiver and X kind of running in the same area. That's not my favorite thing to do, but it definitely works. And if you like that read, this is a combo you can most certainly go to. All right, man, hopping into the last play, it's going to be Dagger. Dagger is one of the best plays in the game stock. Literally, if you just click on this stock, taking a look at what we have. We have a clear out stock, which is always nice. You always want usually at least 1 streak on the play just to create more space for you. If you have 5 routes running under the 20-yard limit, that's not real football, and that's just not a good way to play the game. But you have a nice stock dig route that's super deep. You also have one of the best stock crossers in the game. That's going to be man coverage. Get over the top of a lot of zones. And then you also have Pitts on a drag, and take a look at Patterson. Patterson's on a nice little ghost route, so you don't need backfield master. You see Patterson's going to actually sit in a nice spot. Now, he will get bumped sometimes on those check-in releases, but he actually sits in a decent spot on that play. Now, we'll do some other things to open this up a little bit more, but this is just one of the better plays in the game stock. And this is one of the plays where you can kind of quick snap your opponent and really get something going, because it's going to be difficult for him to stop this play with no defensive adjustments. Just because of all the rollout power, you might get stuck on a lineman or something. You can throw this crosser, which, again, the way this developed is a little bit tricky just because of how far Stephon is down. For whatever reason, Stephon it's because I'm in a cover 3 show 2. Gilmore's basically pressed, so he actually plays this crosser pretty well without any kind of a clear out route, which is a little bit annoying, but we'll use a clear out in some of the other setups anyway. Now, the first setup to open this up is we're going to use a slant instead of a drag. I like slants a little bit more. We're going to put Patterson on an out route just to get that open a little bit more. And then we're going to put Zacchaeus on a streak. Now, why do I have 2 streaks? Don't worry, we're going to put Russell Gage on a hot route, but we're going to motion, which either Russell Gage or Zacchaeus, and you're going to throw the other on a smoke screen. So this is the way you can do it. You can, of course, motion Russell Gage in the slot, or if you want, you can just completely motion him across and open up Tajay Sharp in his little crosser. So this is my favorite setup for Dagger. You could run it with the drag, but the slant is just going to create another high-low combo. It's just going to open up one more route completely and just prevent you from having to make a bad read or mess up in that sense. So this time we motion Zacchaeus. We can throw Russell Gage on the smoke screen. I like the slot a little bit better just because the slot corner won't just sit on it, and if you don't have time, then that's a little bit useless. You see how fast it opens up Kyle Pitts, whereas the other one might kind of be baiting a little bit more, so I like this one better. But if you want to motion Gage over on like all of your plays, you can create a constant by just doing that, and the play would work perfectly fine. So once again, here's a look at your play art. Now, you do want to get the ball off quickly. You will need some decent pocket presence in this formation, so you can kind of step up in the pocket. Whoever my right tackle is, that Caleb McGarry, he's useless out there. My God, this dude sucks. Like, literally, you're trashed. Like, what is happening with that? But another combo I like is with Y on the curl. You could also put X on the curl, and then I like to put Y on a little hitch. With this, I motion Gage over, create a couple of just simple high-low reads. This one, you have 6 people blocking, so you would hope you get a little bit of protection. With this, you can throw the little drag on there. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of having you know, these kinds of curls on the outside with a backside drag from the wide side of the, or from the short side to the wide side, just takes a little bit too long to develop, and especially throwing across the field. So I would go with something like this, probably X on a little out route, and then you have a curl flat with the slot wide receiver would be a little bit better. You snap him a little bit early, and then you can kind of throw this route a little bit more. So that would be my best bet. You can also go with a zig route. You can't go on a flat because he is an outside receiver. Realistically, if you wanted, you could go smoke screen, motion him across the formation. I think that's something that would work. But yeah, man, definitely some interesting stuff. As far as some of the other combos you could go, you could just run the play kind of stock with a wheel route. I actually like this a little bit because the wheel route seems to get opened up heavily because the crosser's coming from that side, so the curl flat kind of recognizes it, especially if the curl flat's coming from the safety position as it is here. I feel like that gets a little bit more opened up. But yeah, man, you can kind of do some things like this. Maybe you flat A, or maybe you flat A, you hitch Y, and then you streak X. You can do something like this with more 6-man protection. So again, because Kyle Pitts is in a wide receiver spot, you can actually throw him on zig routes, slant routes, as we've done. So you can do some interesting things. But that's pretty much going to wrap up the video. If you enjoyed, drop a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, and peace. I'm out of here.